an honest conversation coming at you today because this mama is excited for the new year. Because looking back at this last year, what a year it has been. We have added so much to our community. We have added so much to our family life. In case you missed it, we added a new baby to our family. So I am now mom to 5 precious babies. And I say babies, my oldest is almost 16. So I should probably stop calling them babies because they're getting pretty big. But we do have a fresh baby in our home. She was born mid-November, right before Thanksgiving, and it has been just a precious time snuggling with her, getting to know her, and losing sleep. Oh, you guys, I'm tired. Just gonna say it. But as the cliche sayings go, this time does not last forever and it will soon be over, right? So I'm hanging on to that. I am enjoying the cuddles, the sweet moments. I'm enjoying watching my 10-year-old daughter experience our home with a little baby. And that's been really neat. So in today's podcast, I thought I would share some of these changes and what they have looked like for me because they have not been easy. I would like to share maybe some of the challenges and some of the ways that I was able to show up in spite of things being hard, because sometimes it's just nice to know that you are not alone in the hard. We are all mamas. We all have our hard days. We all have our hard months, perhaps. I know I did. And it's just nice to know that you are not alone, that you're not going crazy, that it is all part of just motherhood, part of life, and that there are ways that we can still show up even if we are not 100%. Mamas of multiple kids, you know that pregnancies can be so different one from the next, right? I had my first 4 when I was very young, and I had them back to back. They were all about 2 years apart. And while there were a few differences in all of them because your body changes, they were all pretty similar. One of the facts that I remember about being pregnant with my first 4 was that I loved being pregnant. I did. I always said if I could just stay pregnant, I would have loved that back when I was between 20 and 25. I didn't really have complications, and honestly, pregnancies were pretty easy. And now, fast forward about 10 years, my body has told a different story, which I find a little ironic because I have never been healthier in my entire life. In the last 3 years, I have taken my health. I've really gotten serious with it. I have taken the foods that we have consumed and I've gone down that rabbit trail. We've eaten better. We've eaten cleaner. We take care of our bodies in a different way. I mean, I'm going to chiropractic care. So I think I assumed that being pregnant this time around would be about the same, and if not better, because I was in a better state, just physically and in a healthier state. So I think I was really surprised when the pregnancy did not go that way. To give you a little perspective, to quote my oldest son, he said, "Mom, this whole year I wondered what happened to my mom, because this is not the same person." So just to give you a little insight as to where I was, the best ways to describe it would probably be mental fog, emotional checkout, and physical exhaustion. I'm going to insert a little tangent here, a little side story. I was married to my first husband for 6 years, and we had 3 boys, and I was pregnant with my little girl whenever I lost my first husband. He had a heart condition, and we just happened to be spending a week at the beach with family and friends when he went to play in the ocean, and the waves were a little rough that day. The intensity of the waves was just a little too much that day, and it caused his heart to just bottom out, honestly, and had a seizure in the water. By the time we found him, he'd been underwater we don't know how long, so we ended up in ICU for a week. His body did not recover from the seizures and the water intake and whatever else, complications. So a week later, we lost him. Here I was, mom of 3 boys, pregnant with my little girl, which I didn't know that it was a little girl. So that was a sweet surprise later on. And a very, very short snippet into this time of life, I was a single mom for about 7 years with my 4 kids. And I never thought that my little girl would be my last baby. So that the longing in my heart for more kids was always there. It was an ache, an ache that I couldn't satisfy because I was now a single mom. So for all those years, I just laid it down before the Lord and said, Your will be done. And I didn't know what the future would hold. I didn't know if I would remarry or not. I didn't know if there would be more kids or not. And so it was something I couldn't control. So I just had to leave it up to God and say, It is yours. You know the cry of my heart. Here it is. And he tenderly held that for 7+ years. So fast forward some time, I met my now husband, Caleb, and him and I decided to get married. So here I was, remarried. And a few years in, we discussed having more kids. This could be a whole nother side podcast. But we discussed it with the kids, and we waited till everyone came around to the idea, or that they were okay, I guess, with the idea in their hearts. When everyone was on board, we decided to add another one. And I say all this because sometimes our longings, our dreams, our hopes, our heart's desires are put on hold for so long that we think that God has forgotten or that it will never come to fruition. And sometimes it might not. Sometimes the answer is no. But there's a difference, I think, for carrying a dream so hard that it weighs you down and carrying a dream in your heart and laying it before the Lord and saying, Your will be done, and leaving it there and walking away and continuing on with your life and not expecting answers, not expecting a solution now, not expecting it all to be better in the moment, but just laying it down gently before the Lord and letting Him carry it for you. I know for the first few years I carried it and I was so heartbroken. I mean, my little girl stopped nursing at 7 months old. 7 months old, she just one day woke up and decided she was done. And here I was, wanting to soak up the what I thought was my last child, my last pregnancy, my last baby in my arms to nurse. I was going to soak it up past 7 months old. I mean, we were going to nurse as long as we needed. And here she was. She woke up and said, I'm done at 7 months old. And I had to process that loss. So I carried this dream, this desire really hard, and I held on to it so hard for so many years. And it wasn't till I laid it down and I said, All right, God, I do not know. I do not know what the future holds. I cannot see, but you can. And you can see my desire right now. So I'm going to give it back to you. And I enjoyed my kids, my 4 kids. That's what I had, and I was very content with that. There was still that desire there, but it wasn't weighing me down. And I enjoyed my kids greatly. We lived life in the moment. We laughed, we played, we adventured, we traveled, we moved countries, we did things. And all the while, God tenderly held that dream of mine. So this pregnancy was an answered prayer. It was so much more than just adding another baby to the family. It was years of tenderly holding a loss. It was years of my heart longing for something that I didn't know would happen. And I stepped in fully aware of all of these things and fully expectant to embrace every area, every flutter, every thought, every movement, everything about this pregnancy. I expected to step in and have the best experience that I had ever had while carrying my child. I started reading the Mama Natural Week by Week Guide to Pregnancy and Childbirth by Genevieve Howland, and I was doing all of the things. I was following it down to the last thing she was suggesting, making sure to get plenty of rest, drink plenty of water and electrolytes, all of the things that I knew to do. And yet, in spite of all of that, things started to change. I'm not exactly sure on timelines, but I was around week probably 15, 16 when I got a call from my midwife letting me know that my platelets were low, which is not a big deal if you're planning a hospital birth, but I was not. I was planning a home birth. And for those of us wondering what in the world platelets are, let me explain it to you really quickly. It is the cells in our blood that help us clot and not bleed out and not hemorrhage. So whenever you are doing a home birth or any kind of birth, hospital or other, it is very important to have platelets enough to help you clot and not hemorrhage. So a very important part of this process. And I've got to say, I love my midwife so much. She was on it. She gave me a list of things to start taking immediately to start bringing my platelets up. And we had a few months to get this done. So the things she put me on were not fun to take. They were disgusting. They tasted horrible. And it was going to be months of this. But you know what? I was committed to doing everything that I could in this pregnancy to make it amazing and show up well for the birth. I felt really good about it. I was excited to have natural remedies to help bring my platelets up, and I was determined to be active the rest of my pregnancy. I was saving videos of ways that I was going to exercise and move my body, and around week maybe 20, I started going downhill fast. It felt like every week that went by, there was something new to deal with. Which, if you have a very independent spirit and you tend to be a figure it out yourself kind of gal, like I am, this can be very challenging. As the weeks went on, I had to start depending more and more on my husband and on my kids. And to put it simply, I was barely able to show up physically and mentally, and I guess emotionally, for my family. Now, if you know anything about me, you know that I do things intentionally. It is the heart behind pretty much everything I post, everything I write, and everything I do at home. I try to show up intentionally in all areas of life. Now, do I get that perfectly? No, don't misunderstand me here. But this is what I try to do. So going on months of not being able to show up intentionally, of not even being able to to meal plan, to do traditions that we would normally do, it made this season of life not only hard, but it crushed my heart because I was not able to show up in the ways that I knew that I wanted to for my kids and my husband. And this is where I played the mom guilt card. It would show up at the end of the day when I was going to bed, playing through the events of the day, and I saw how much I had missed or how many times I wasn't able to show up. It would come out when I would study our family life and see all the things that I was failing at, all the things that I needed to step in and help, or conversations I needed to have, but I honestly did not even have the capability to do that. The mom guilt weighed so heavily on me. But this is where I think is so awesome to have a community around you. I have a friend who is really, really good at encouraging. And so often she would find the little things. She would see the little things that I would miss because I was so overwhelmed by all of the big things that I couldn't do. And she would constantly point those out to me. As soon as I would start going down the list of things that I couldn't accomplish, she would quickly bring out something that I was doing, something she noticed that I was doing. I am forever grateful for my friend Abby in this season and the way she encouraged me, the way she shored me up and prayed over me when the days felt long and hard. Mama, find you a community. Find you a friend, one friend who can come alongside you in the hard days and encourage you to push you to keep going because hard days are inevitable. I know this, you know this, but a friend, someone who sees how hard you are trying even when it doesn't feel like it, someone who speaks life into your heart, that is a precious thing as we are showing up every day in our motherhood journey. So friends, I would say, was one of the ways I was able to show up even when my body was not letting me show up. My friends, I had a couple who just surrounded me with prayer and encouragement, and I can say they helped me get through. Another very simple way that I was able to show up in this season of life was seeing the things that I could control. There was so much that was out of my control, but there was still quite a few things that I could do something about. It looked like drinking enough water every single day. That was such a small decision. It was something I could do, something I knew I could get up and do, even if it meant sometimes asking my kids to bring me water. But I looked at the tasks that needed to be done and assessed the ones that I could do every single day, show up in small ways. I wasn't able to show up in the big ways that I really wanted to, but I could show up in the small ways for my body, for myself, for my family, and that made a really big difference in how I showed up. Simply choosing the little things, choosing to be faithful in the little things, in spite of not being able to be really faithful in the big things. Something I had to keep reminding myself over and over was, this is a season. This is a season. It will soon be over. We will soon be on the other side of that hill. All the physical things that I am dealing with right now will soon be over. It is a season. Sometimes you just have to pep talk yourself. Sometimes you just have to look at yourself in the mirror and talk to yourself and say, this is a season, or whatever you need to hear. Sometimes our friends saying it is not enough. We have to believe it. And this little phrase helped me know that it would soon be over. It might have felt like the longest stretch, but it's just a season. Friends, I share all of this, not just to tell a story, but to encourage your mama heart so that, like I said at the beginning, you know you are not alone. You may be walking a hard season right now in motherhood, in your own life, in your personal life, but you are not alone. There are so many of us out there who struggle with depression, with anxiety, with fears, doubts, with mom guilt and comparison, exhaustion and mental fog. Pick any one of those, and you will have a group of moms who can sympathize because they've either been there or they are there right now. And for those of us who are there right now, I would like to end today with a prayer over us. Lord, I lift up the mama listening right now who feels like she's just barely treading water. In the middle of this hard season, would you meet her in the quiet moments, even if that's just a few minutes in the driveway? I pray that you would calm her anxious thoughts, lighten the heavy load she's carrying, and remind her that she doesn't have to be perfect to show up for her family. Give her strength for today, give her hope for tomorrow, and let her feel seen, let her feel known by you and deeply loved. In your Son's name we pray, amen. I'm so grateful you're a part of this community, Mama. If today's episode spoke to your heart, would you mind sharing it with another mom who might need a little extra grace today? And remember, I'm always hanging out on Instagram over at ellieandtheboys.co, sharing life behind the scenes of our messy, real life moments. Come and say hi if you have a minute. See you in the next episode.